Sometimes when an entertainment property is successful enough, people will try to find ways to make more money from it by creating a spin-off, like the inexplicably unpopular Outside Xbox 7 Things Dog Chow. It had 7 things in it. Things dogs will eat. You people make me sick. Unlike that, a good spin-off is something that is distinct from the original but that exists in the same universe, has common characters, and appeals to the same fan base, and in some rare cases, the spin-off can actually be even better than the original series that gave it life in the first place. Here then, a 7 times a spin-off game proved even better than the series it span off from. Enjoy, and if anyone would like 7,000 cans of dog food that it is technically legal to feed to certain kinds of dog, then please do get in touch, thank you.
Lovable, unpredictable, programmable. It's The Sims.
Hey there, sport. What's all the racket?
It's fusion, Daddy. The key to a cleaner burning fuel resides in this...
The year 2000 brought us multiple blessings. Not only was the terrifying Y2K Millennium Bug defeated in a spectacular armoured mech battle, is the way I remember it, but also The Sims came out. That's right, this millennium began with the launch of the very first entry in game designer Will Wright's life-simulating, home-furnishing digital dollhouse series of games.
The Sims. It's a new game every day.
Rated T for T. The Sims 1 posited the new and, at the time, radical idea that players might like to build houses and control simulated people, or Sims, as they go about their simulated lives, pursuing careers, vibing with other Sims, and starting kitchen fires. Happens to the best of us. That all might have seemed pretty kooky 21 years ago, but here we are today where The Sims is 4 main games in and one of the best-selling video game series in the world. Not least because The Sims 4, launched in 2014, has had 11 expansion packs to date. Most recently, The Sims 4 Cottage Living, a kind of Hobbiton cottagecore fantasy with rainbow cows. Give us The Sims 5, EA. We're ready. With the powerful distraction of this increasingly sophisticated domestic life simulation in which it is increasingly difficult to accidentally drown your sim in a swimming pool. What? It is! It's easy to forget that The Sims itself began life as a spin-off from another game franchise, namely the city-building simulation series SimCity. The SimCity series started way back in 1989 when it looked like a sort of black and white circuit diagram. Then gave us SimCity 2000 in 1993 and SimCity 3000, which arrived just ahead of The Sims in 1999. And though SimCity was brilliant and genre-defining in its own right, today SimCity's urban planning sandbox has been outshone by its zoomed-in, micromanaging suburban spin-off.
Oh, Reba!
The Sims wasn't the only game spun out of the success of SimCity, but none of the others were as warmly embraced, not even SimAnt, the ant simulation where you could get bitten by a spider and die in agony. Go figure.
取り立てのチンピラか。よく俺をつけれたな。
チンピラとはご挨拶だな。俺はあんたと同業者。
探偵ってことか。
うん。あんた逃げ足早いんだって。で、うちに依頼が来たってこと。
Despite the title, the characters you play as in the Yakuza games are usually good guys, protecting those who can't protect themselves, helping those less fortunate, and of course we're told many times that series mainstay Kiryu has never killed anyone. Those people were just sleeping in that burning helicopter. That being said, they do all operate on the wrong side of the law, something that Ryuga Gotoku Studios changed for the 2019 Yakuza spin-off, Judgment. In Judgment, you play as Takayuki Yagami, a former defense attorney turned private investigator who gets embroiled in the gruesome case of a serial killer who has been killing Yakuza members. So we can rule out Kiryu as a suspect, as he never kills. That man was just sleeping, with his head inside that microwave. While Judgment does share a lot of elements with the Yakuza games, particularly the bustling neon setting of Tokyo's Kamurocho district, the gameplay is completely different, trading the constant fighting of Yakuza for the life of a detective, in which you must search for clues, investigate crime scenes, and figure out the right questions to ask suspects during interrogations.
Now, I think it's about time we got some answers. And you're gonna give them to us.
To be fair though, there is still quite a lot of fighting. While it's a big claim to say that Judgment is better than Yakuza, there have been a lot of Yakuza games, some of which are brilliant, some of which are only so-so. Judgment ranks among the very best games that Ryu Ga Gotoku Studios has put out, thanks to it introducing a fun and compelling new gameplay mechanic, being a detective, while keeping the best elements of the Yakuza games, such as the setting, the combat, the huge wealth of side activities, and of course, totally bonkers side missions.
Huh?
Just remember you're supposed to be solving a crime, not getting a high score on the game's House of the Dead ripoff. Or, I mean, there could be an important clue hidden somewhere in this arcade game. I'd better play 45 more levels just to be sure.
If you had told me in 2011 that Xbox's flagship technical showcase racing series, Forza Motorsport, would be superseded by an open-world street racing game based around an international music festival, I'd have said, actually that sounds pretty great. Turns out, it was pretty great. The first Forza Horizon came out in 2012, adding a fresh dimension to the Forza experience in that you could drive down whichever road took your fancy here in scenic Colorado, instead of around and around the one designated by the game. This big, beautiful driving sandbox had more varied appeal than its more serious simulation-focused predecessor, mixing it up with driving challenges, point-to-point races, online multiplayer, and invitations to explore the open world, like rare classic cars hidden around the map, known as barn finds.
So, the sooner we get it restored, the sooner you're the lucky guy behind the wheel.
Just for reference, if you do find a classic car in a barn in the real world, it doesn't automatically become yours. Found that out the hard way. Pairing Forza Horizon's sense of fun and freedom with Forza Motorsport's graphical show-offery and physics expertise made it a hit that gave rise to sequels in the south of France, Australia, Great Britain, and later this year, Mexico, promising the kind of car holiday I can only dream of. I mean, they won't let me take my car on the plane, for starters.
You are truly as he anticipated. This is truly an unjust game. But if my voice is reaching you, I beg you, please overcome this game and save the world.
The Shin Megami Tensei series of Japanese RPGs is one of the longest-running game series in the world. Having started with 1987's Digital Devil story, Megami Tensei, a dungeon crawler RPG about a kid who creates a computer program that can summon demons, which actually works. I've seen how these things usually go. He'll be working at Microsoft within a week. The game was popular and spawned a bunch of well-received sequels, none of which made it to the West, but there was one game that proved to have the crossover appeal needed for mainstream success outside of Japan. Revelation's Persona, which moved the action to a high school and focused on a group of students who have to deal with a demon outbreak in their town.
Persona, the power to call on others within you. Sometimes merciful, sometimes cruel. These cells are embedded deep within your soul.
It was Persona 3, however, that really established the formula that made the Persona games so popular, leaning heavily into the social simulation side of the game, adding a calendar that tracked the passing of time, and placing a greater emphasis on the interpersonal relationships between you, your party, and the various NPCs you met along the way.
This is gonna be a fun year. I can feel it.
From that point onwards, Persona has gone from strength to strength, with Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 scoring excellent reviews, huge sales, and a massive global fanbase that dwarfs that of the Shin Megami Tensei series it came from. That's not to say that Shin Megami Tensei isn't good, or even that it isn't popular. The games review well, and a new Shin Megami Tensei game is due out on the Switch in November 2021, but Persona's setting, themes, and great cast of lovable characters is what gives it the edge over the series that spawned it.
I feel like we're gonna get along just fine as troublemakers.
In fact, we're at the point now where Persona is so popular that it has its own spin-offs, including fighting games,
Wage slave in the boonies by day, hero by night.
Captain Resentable, Yosuke Hanamura!
Everything that bores me has got to go.
And rhythm action dancing games.
Let's get serious.
Time to fire ourselves up.
It's us or no one. We can't lose.
Which is impressive for a series in which a bunch of teenagers shoot themselves in the head to summon demons. You don't get that in Pokemon.
Persona.
Got it.
Thank you very much.
The long-running and influential Story of Seasons franchise, formerly known as Harvest Moon, is as benign and wholesome as it is a series of farming sim RPGs. The series began with Harvest Moon for the SNES way back in 1996, establishing the essential series tropes of growing crops, tending livestock, and proposing marriage to friendly, dishy villagers. From there, the series flourished through game after charming game, in more recent years on the Nintendo handhelds, the DS, 3DS, and Switch.
Harvest Moon. One world.
That's all well and good if you enjoy relaxing, doing small-scale agriculture and marriage proposals, but what if you also want to kill stuff? And I don't just mean the crops you forgot to water. R.I.P. If you did want a bit more action and adventure in your RPG, and a story that goes beyond I've got a farm and I'm doing farm stuff, then it was precisely for you that along the way Story of Seasons span off another series of games. This is the Rune Factory series, which, in the words of Harvest Moon producer Yoshifumi Hashimoto, is Harvest Moon where you wield a sword. And who doesn't want to wield a sword? I spend all my time in real life not wielding swords, since they took my swords away. They were ornamental. With more emphasis on fighting and fantasy and not quite so much on farming, Rune Factory started out on the Nintendo DS and has been doing very nicely in parallel to the Story of Seasons series ever since. Most recently with the Japanese launch in May 2021 of Rune Factory 5, which has all the sword swinging and soil tilling and beautiful romanceable anime NPCs you crave.
I'll get straight to it. Tomorrow. Today, I rest.
Ugh, that's not gonna get these potatoes pulled. It was never gonna work out. Lazy.
My house.
These days, Unreal is better known as a game engine, with the latest version, Unreal Engine 4, powering games as diverse as Jedi Fallen Order, Fortnite, and of course, Train Sim World 2. Only through the power of Unreal. Before all that though, Unreal was a game, and an incredible looking one at that. I mean, for the time. Incredible for the time. Billed as a Quake killer in an age where Blur vs Oasis style feuds were all the rage, 1998's original Unreal pushed the graphical envelope all the way to the post office, where it was mailed to gamers everywhere, who opened the graphical envelope and then said, yes, we like Unreal very much. What's that about an envelope? I'm saying Unreal was popular at the time. Oh. Yeah, you get there. And while Unreal was groundbreaking technologically and pushed the limits of what first-person shooters could do back in the late 90s, it was also, not to put too fine a point on it, a bit dull. Levels, while they looked pretty, were boring and disorienting, the enemies were unremarkable alien shapes with no real character to them, and the plot, such as it was a load of easily forgettable self-important nonsense about I've already forgotten. This guy looks like Goro from Mortal Kombat though. Much better, if you ask us, was the spin-off series Unreal Tournament, which took all the great graphics and technology of Unreal and applied it to a much more exciting arena deathmatch format, with the bare minimum of plot revolving around how consensual murder was legalized in the year 2291, and so everyone is just having a good time killing each other in a big arena. It was also the first FPS to track consecutive kills, with the announcer calling out such achievements as a 5-kill streak.
Killing spree. Monster kill.
Sorry, monster kill, to use the correct terminology. And while we have the correct amount of reverent historical respect for Unreal and its contribution to video game history, I think we can all agree that this is the game we'd all rather be playing. Sorry, Goro Jr., you'll always have a special place in our hearts.
The Sniper Elite series of shooters are notable for two things. One, focusing on being the most realistic and detailed simulation of sniping, including the part where you lie down perfectly motionless for hours at a time. And two, its horrifying kill cams that let you see just what kind of damage a 7.7mm rifle cartridge can do to a human skull in precise anatomical detail. Oh, and three, I guess, it's the one where you can shoot Hitler in the balls. A legacy that will echo through the ages. But if the book Pride and Prejudice and Zombies has taught us anything, it's that Jane Austen's works are now out of copyright and there's not a thing her estate can do to stop you doing whatever you like to her books. Oh, and also that you can add zombies to anything and people will go wild for it. And that's what the makers of Sniper Elite did with Zombie Army Trilogy, which collected a couple of zombie-themed DLCs for previous Sniper Elite games, as well as a previously unreleased third installment, which are presented as chapters in a story in which Hitler has transformed his dead soldiers into zombies, and snipers from Germany, Russia and the USA have to shoot them all in the head, I guess. It's a matter of personal taste, of course, but for us, the grindhouse aesthetic, the zombies, and the shift towards more of an action focus is what makes Zombie Army Trilogy superior to the series that it span off from in the first place. It still has all the high points of the Sniper Elite games, the sniping, the kill cams, the historical setting, but with a more satisfying gameplay rhythm in which you start out sniping, and then as the horde becomes aware of you, you switch to submachine guns, pistols, and explosives, as you'd expect from a more traditional third-person shooter. Plus, you can shoot multiple zombie Hitlers in the balls. Which, I mean, quality and quantity, am I right? Andy, we need you to outro the video.
Man, you weren't kidding. You can Sense and Sensibility and sea monsters. You just do whatever you want. It's just wild in publishing. Take Jane Austen and put sea monsters in it, why not? Anyway, if you'd rather do something else than desecrate the works of Jane Austen, you can watch another video from us up here, or you can watch an Outside Extra video down here, and do please subscribe, it really helps us out. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.